Over the past almost year, I've had multiple instances where you feel like everything's lost. A quick backstory. So I ended up my education at an O level, and with that, there are not many strong options for a career. The main causes were mainly because many things went wrong during that time. So I started working at a retail chain. So with this job, I went in thinking that I was going to only be there for quite a short while. That is my initial plan. But as you might have probably guessed, I ended up being there for over a bit 2 years and about 7 months. Coming in, I was like, I'm going to only spend about a year and then get my stuff done and be on my way. But here's the thing, and as time went on, I started feeling comfortable and I ended up relaxing, and just like that, I was thinking small. I was comfortable with the security of knowing that a paycheck is always going to come at the end of the month. But the thing was, you could not actually do anything with the paycheck that was coming in. I realized if I was not gonna do something, this was going to be my whole life, working and breaking my back off at a 6 to 6. So since I grew up loving this field of technology and anything that had to do with computers, so I knew that that was something that I wanted to do, anything that was related to computers and all that. So that's when I started doing copywriting. But after a while, I realized that copywriting alone was not going to work, especially in where I come from. So then I did all these other tech related stuff like drop shipping, trading. I tried all of those things, but ultimately at the end of the day, they yield nothing. I was back to square zero. That is when I stumbled back into programming. I'd loved creating something out of nothing from a very young age. So I took programming. So that's when I decided to just take the leap of faith, terminate my contract, and go on. And to be honest, for the first time in years, I felt free. So that's when we went to this networking event. It was the youth trade fair that happens just once a day in Zimbabwe. So when I went there, quite some inspiring people, doing all the networking, talking to people, researching. After I did that, and then this idea clicked. What if I built something? So I spent about almost half of my savings on a second-hand MacBook M1 Air. When I bought it, I just knew that this thing was an investment. Initially, I did not want to code anything about this platform that I was building. I tended to go with shortcuts. I wanted to use all these shortcuts, not code. So I ended up building the site with WordPress, spend money with hosting, and all that. There was so many things that we needed. Like we needed all these plugins, all these things, which had a big cost. But at the time I was biased and I thought, well, I'll just raise money. I got into looking for a investor, started digging. So I went online and just saw that this was not going to work. I'd built something but couldn't actually roll it out. Then I met this guy who has been working in the startup world for about 5-6 years, and he did give me some advice. So I took it. I did a re-evaluation of the market because I knew that my idea was not wrong. Then he said, your idea is great though, but I think you should hold off. Then he said, I want you to be my co-founder. You co-found this thing with me. Then without thinking, I just said, yes, I can build it. But at the time, I wasn't actually that sure that I could. I just said yes. I think that is what opened a whole lot of possibilities and opportunities. That very yes. After he said that, that's when I started going deep into researching all these things about being a software engineer and developer. This was like a project-based learning, because I was learning as I built the infrastructure. Once I became serious in my software engineering journey, most of the opportunities just started opening. I had this friend of mine say, since you build stuff, can you build me this POS system? Then after him, the next person said, I also want, and then it's like the floodgates just started opening. So if you have watched to this far, why don't you consider subscribing? It would help me a lot. And thanks, by the way. So my final take is that right here in Zimbabwe, I've seen that we do not have that huge developer community. Like, we have tons of software engineering students, computer science students coming out of college, but with no way actually to grow. So my goal is to build such a community where we can share, discuss, and do all of that. So thank you again for watching. I will be updating you on the projects I'll be doing in the systems I'll be building.